Sure, this was June 1st, 1985. I was in Paris, France. I had a perforation of the duodenum, which was left untreated for 10 hours, and I died. I was taken on a journey by a group of what I thought were people taking me to surgery, but instead they took me into a hellish environment, and they attacked me and tore me apart. And I was an atheist at the time, but due to my desperation, I prayed and I called out to Jesus, going back to the faith that I'd had as a child, and he came and took me out of there. I had a life review, and then he invited me to ask my questions, so I asked him everything I could think of, and then he told me I had to come back here and try and live in a better way than I had before.
So you basically died, met some beings which took you to a dark place, and from there Jesus rescued you, you went to heaven, and then you came back, and you said you didn't want to come back, but you came back. So how long did that whole experience take, in a matter of Earth time?
It's actually impossible to make the comparison, but I know that it took me 3.5 years to go to graduate school, and this took longer.
Okay. And so you were an atheist when this happened?
Yes.
And now you're a pastor?
Yes.
Okay, so obviously this had a huge impact on your entire thought process in your life.
I'd say it was a 180-degree course change.
Okay. So the first part, you said you went to the cesspool where there were negative beings who took you from your bed in the hospital. Can you speak more to that part before we talk about how you actually went to heaven?
Yeah, it's interesting because I know that they were people that had lived in this world, and because of their indifference or hatred to God and to what God stands for, they didn't want to go to heaven, they didn't want to be with God, so God gave them exactly what they wanted, which was separation from God. The thing that's sad is, in that place, what makes it hellish is them. It wouldn't have to be that bad, but their behavior goes unrestrained, and they just act out all their worst instincts.
So before this experience, did you think any of this stuff was real? That there was a place that existed where there almost like a purgatory, like you said, and then a heaven, or heaven and a hell? Did you ever give much thought to that?
I had, by the time I was a teenager, I'd come to believe that the whole religious thing was a fantasy for people that were basically delusional, weak-minded, and that intelligent people, like what I thought I was and what all my friends at the university thought they were it was just for children and for addle-brained people, and that we knew way better than that.
Wow, okay. So when you first came back to life in the hospital, were you said you were blind and deaf? Did I read that correctly?
I became blind and deaf, not. Yeah.
And then but now obviously you're not, so you got healed.
Yeah, but I was in the hospital for months, and the doctors all agreed that it was a miracle that, first of all, I survived the 10 hours without being treated for the perforated duodenum, and then I was very ill for a very long time. I came back to the U.S. and I was on critical for 5 weeks at a hospital in the U.S. Critical means you're on the edge. They don't know which way it's going to go.
So ICU? Was it ICU?
No,
oh.
no.
Okay. All right. Well, so how did your family react to this new Howard who came back from heaven?
They didn't react well to it at all, because when I came back, I was fanatical, obnoxious about wanting to get them to believe the things that I'd learned and experienced, and they hadn't had the experience. Yeah. So to me, it was just, to them, it was just madness, crazy talk.
Okay. So can you speak more to the actual experience when you went to heaven, for example? How did you know you were in heaven? What was the feeling? You know, were there words being communicated? What was heaven like?
Well, Jesus is a great teacher, and he spoke to me telepathically. I mean, I could distinctly and clearly hear his voice speaking to me, and he knew everything I thought, so the communication was very rapid, very instantaneous. I mean, whatever I thought, he responded to, and lots of things he answered with dialogue, and a number of things he showed me, including things in the past, things in the future, and in our present, which was what heaven was like.
What did he show you from your past?
Oh, well, we went over my whole life in a chronological order in painful detail. That was actually not a lot of fun after the childhood period. But when I mean the past also, we went back to like World War II, and we went back to biblical times and all kinds of historical things.
What about your life review? So do we all have a life review when we first go to meet God after we die?
Almost all near-death experiences talk about a life review, but it seems to be quite common.
Mm-hmm. And you said that was painful.
Yeah, because I was living my life trying to achieve for myself, and it was made quite clear to me that that's not the purpose of life. The purpose of life is to be compassionate and loving towards everybody around us. Mm-hmm. And I totally missed it. I flunked life 101.
Okay. So how do we be compassionate and love people? Like, it's easy to love people who love you back or who are easy to love. How do you love the difficult people? Are we supposed to love them too?
We're definitely supposed to love the difficult people, because they're the ones that need the love more. I mean, and it's so easy to love, as you said, the people that are lovable and love us back. So it's very, very hard, and that's the curriculum here. It's not all easy stuff that we're supposed to do. It's very, very hard to love difficult people, and we need the guidance of the Holy Spirit, the guidance of God, to love them. And sometimes that love might be tough love.